What's up, football world? It is Bucky Brooks, and this is the Bucky Brooks Show. And I am excited that now we are underway with preseason ball. I really get to talk about real stuff, real football, not speculating. We get a chance to see it, break it down, talk about it. And I'm looking forward to making sure that we have more regular appearances and a steady diet of programming where we can talk about all the things that are going on in the National Football League. And as it gets closer, as we get closer to the regular season, it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see where some of the young guys kind of fall out, shake out, and whether they start, and how some of these teams that we talk about being contenders, how they separate themselves from contenders and pretenders and those things. But since I am tied and deeply affiliated with the Jacksonville Jaguars, we have to start off this episode talking about all things Jacksonville Jaguars. Had an opportunity to be in Jacksonville a few times over the course of the summer, but most recently leading up to preseason week 1, where the Jaguars took on the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game at Everbank Stadium, which will be known for the Cam Little field goal, the 70-yarder that the young kicker nailed, which was absolutely outstanding, as evidenced and validated by the holy smokes that I kept yelling out during the course of the kick. But we'll get to that. The thing that everyone wanted to see, there's two things that everyone was really interested in going into that Jacksonville Jaguar game, the preseason debut. They wanted to know how Liam Coen was going to fix Trevor Lawrence, and they want to know how Travis Hunter is going to handle those two-way responsibilities. Let's talk about Liam Coen and Trevor Lawrence first, because franchise quarterback Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall pick, who just got paid, big paid, entered the $50 million club. Everyone wants to see, will he have an opportunity to go to the next level? By all accounts, people are a bit disappointed that Trevor Lawrence maybe hasn't played up to expectation as a number 1 overall pick. Some of that is due to the injuries. Some of that is due to the dysfunction that was around him. Regardless, things haven't been like we expected them to be for a guy who has been hailed as a franchise quarterback, a generational talent, and those things. Enter Liam Coen, the quarterback savior, coming off a great reclamation project with Baker Mayfield, where Baker Mayfield had career highs in everything, yards, touchdowns, all of it. Former number 1 pick who was a journeyman, Liam Coen kind of rights the wrong, surrounds him with a top 5 running game, and Baker Mayfield shows the talent that made him the number 1 overall pick. The hope is similar. The hope is the same for Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Liam Coen, can he fix this offense to help Trevor Lawrence be all the things that we want him to be? I'm going to say, in talking to Liam Coen before the game, he talked about how, look, they put a lot on Trevor Lawrence and how the expectation that he had for Trevor Lawrence before he got to him and after he got to him, look, he's been surprised. The work ethic, everything is up a notch. He's really not only a great guy, but the leadership continues to grow as he becomes more intentional with his relationships in the locker room, and that's going to lead to better success on the field. I got to tell you, being around the organization a lot, the things that they have talked about ad nauseum, communication and trust. Communication and trust are everything that the foundation of the culture is built on. Great communication between player to player, coach to player, coach to coach. That great communication will ultimately lead to trust. Why does that matter in this situation with Liam Coen and Trevor Lawrence? Well, the relationship between the head coach and quarterback, in particular, when the head coach is the offensive play caller and the quarterback, man, that has to be locked. It has to be where these two guys are in lockstep. They can finish each other's sentences. That there's not only a mutual level of respect, but there's almost an affinity from one another when it comes to the way that they get down between the lines. I can tell you, they are building that and they're growing that, and it's beginning to come out in the way that Trevor Lawrence plays. Obviously, I've been around the organization for a few years. I've seen Trevor Lawrence grow. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I've seen a guy who is carrying himself a little differently this year. The way that he engages and interacts with the team, the way that he is handling the coaching, all of that stuff is A+. But it doesn't matter until the performance matches what the expectations are. And even though the preseason doesn't count, it does matter as it relates to building the confidence that you need to be able to be a successful quarterback and really a very successful offense. Coming into this, there was some conversation about whether the starters would play, given the connection that the team has to the Rams and the philosophies that the Rams have used where they didn't play their guys in the preseason. They relied on joint practices to get the team ready, and they wanted to operate with the number one goal of the preseason is to get to the starting line with everyone intact. The Jaguars are not quite at that place in Liam Coen's first year. They wanted to get some work. They wanted to work the kink house. They wanted to get a feel for each other in a game situation so they could build upon that and have some momentum heading into the regular season. So with that in mind, they were going in with 10 to 12 plays on offense, hoping that they could get that done in a drive. Coming out the gate, the Jaguars move the ball down the field. Trevor Lawrence looks good. The offense that we finally got a chance to see was a mix of quick rhythm throws, play action throws, and movement-based passes that are off bootlegs or stretch action that allow Trevor Lawrence to get to the edges, cut the field in half, and make simple reads and simple throws that were designed to really elevate the completion percentage, which would then help the efficiency rate of the offense. So with quicks, play action, movement passes, and then let me throw in some screens, this is an offense where you're hoping that Trevor Lawrence can get to a 70% completion rate and become the efficient distributor that everyone wants to see from the quarterback. When I looked at this team in practice and I watched them in that first preseason game, it gave me those vibes of the 2018 Rams with Jared Goff and how Sean McVay basically fixed Jared Goff, utilizing some of these concepts to help him get into a rhythm, help him develop the consistency to get this offense chewing up first downs and eventually scoring touchdowns. When I look at the weapons around Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, I think about Brenton Strange, I think about De'Ami Brown and Parker Washington. There are a number of playmakers that can do things with the ball, and so Trevor just needs to get the ball to them and get out the way. With the backfield featuring Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby, there's enough physicality and toughness to really set the stage with the running game to create those big play opportunities in the passing game off play action. That's really what this is about. Liam Coen talked about the running game, and this importance is really to allow Trevor to breathe a little bit instead of having to do everything. Because remember, most NFL games, offensive plays are between 65 and 75 plays. To expect your quarterback to be the primary leader on 65 plays a game where he is chiefly responsible for where the ball goes and how it goes, that's a lot. If you can establish your running game and maybe you get 30 carries, 35 carries on good nights, that lightens the load on him, not only physically, but mentally. And what we saw was a commitment to the running game. Not necessarily we're going to go old school, we're going to run in our first and second down, then throw it, but more so, let's make sure we don't deviate too far from the running game. Let's not forget that the running game is a big part of what we do, so we don't have drives where we have 5 consecutive passes before you hand the ball off to Etienne or Bigsby. In doing that, making a stronger commitment to the running game, we saw some of the quick rhythm throws. We saw some of the play action out the back door where you're able to get the ball in the hands of the playmakers and you're able to keep the defense at bay. Even though it resulted in just a field goal for the Jaguars, you did see a very comfortable and confident Trevor Lawrence. And when I go and match that up with what I've seen from him in practice, I feel good about how he's trending and where he's going. Now, let me give you a few other nuggets that I was able to get. So Trevor Lawrence has operated for a long time off a wristband. This is very popular in high school. It's popular in college. Basically, on the wristband, what happens is the play caller calls in a play. And let's just say the wristband is color-coded, where you have colors and numbers. And on the wristband, you have a red 5. Red 5 equals or certain means, hey, we're going to run this certain play or whatever. So it comes into the huddle, red 5. He looks down, he does it. He then barks out the play, and away they go. Well, for the play caller, Liam Coen, the reason why you don't want to operate off the wristband is you want to basically have your quarterback immersed in the language, immersed in the verbiage of the play call, and to begin to hear it come in and visualize what it should look like when it plays out. So imagine, a lot of us have traveled, we've been to foreign countries. So imagine instead of using Google Translator when you're overseas in Spain and you're hanging out, imagine if you were just immersed in the country, dropped off in the country, and you had to just find a way to master the language based on your interactions. Well, once you master that, you're going to know it beyond spitting into a translator and having it come out and give you things where it's a choppy language. What the Jaguars want Trevor Lawrence to do is to fully immerse himself in the offense so he can see those words coming to life, and he can pass on that information to his players so he can make the fixes at the line of scrimmage that he needs to make if people are lost and those things. Moreover, they want him to know it like the back of his hand as he's been immersed in it so he can make changes and attack based on what he sees because he has such a feel. It becomes his native tongue. That is why the verbiage is important, and that's why they're trying to throw him in the deep end when it comes to the mastery of the offense, the installation process, and those things. Now, after one game, it's not going to be all peaches and cream, and they're going to have it down, but you saw some solid building blocks that the Jaguars can use to move forward. More importantly, you saw a confident quarterback who's beginning to kind of find his way in this offense. And the goal is, and I don't expect it to happen in week one, but what you would like to see is by the middle of the season, Liam Coen and Trevor Lawrence on the same page where it clicks, where this offense takes off and goes to the next level. If that happens, then, man, it's everything that we want to see from the former number one quarterback, former number one overall pick. Now let's talk about Travis Hunter. The conversation in going into the game with Travis Hunter, how much is he going to play when it comes to being a two-way player? Not only is how much is he going to play, but how are the Jaguars going to handle and navigate this situation? It's never really been done before in the National Football League where you have someone start on offense and also make key contributions on defense full time. Yes, Coach Prime, Travis Hunter's coach did it in 96, 97, and it was remarkable. He started, he made plays and those things, but really that's atypical of the experience for guys. Well, what Travis is doing is trying to be a full-time player on both sides. And in doing that, it requires a lot of work. Now, I have talked about previously on the podcast, we really think of him as a man and a half player as opposed to a two-way player, meaning he is full-time on one side of the ball, part-time on the other side of the ball, depending on the situation and circumstance. As has been outlined to me, it's those get off the field moments, meaning third down, red zone, 2-minute, end of game. Those are the times where you should see Travis Hunter on the field. Obvious passing situations, obvious situations where his exceptional ball skills and awareness, they're going to play out where they can help you make a play on defense. But the Jaguars want to extend it beyond just kind of like that part-time status. Eventually, I'd like to get him on the field where he can play significant snaps on both sides. Everyone has to understand, last year in college at Colorado, he played nearly 85% of the snaps, total snaps, offense and defense. Look, by far the most that we've ever seen at the FBS level. And it's one of the reasons why Travis wants to continue to do it, be a two-way player. And one of the reasons the Jaguars are confident that he can do it because he did it last year and did it at such a high level. Despite some former players, current players talking about, oh, you can't do it. Travis is uniquely positioned to be able to do it because he's always done it from high school, college on. He wants to do it. So he's willing to put in the time to master the playbooks on offense and defense. And better yet, he's willing to make the sacrifice needed to make sure that his body is ready to handle it. I got to tell you this, and talking to the coaches, they have a special coach assigned to Travis Hunter where he helps him navigate the offense and the defense. He's in his ear to tell him when he's in and when he's out and those things. They also are monitoring his snaps with the data, the GPS system. They're trying to figure out where he's at with the workload. Do they need to dial it back or can they use him more? And those things. It is really a complex operation in making this go, but the Jaguars are willing to do it because the player is so adamant about wanting to be a contributor on both sides. He believes in himself. He loves it. He wants to do it. And so when you have great players, you give them an opportunity to fully display their greatness at all times. In the first preseason game, we had a chance to see him play 10 snaps on offense, 8 snaps on defense. During those 10 snaps on offense, he had 2 catches, minimal yardage, but they were in breaking routes, kind of option routes where you're designing, creating the routes to give him the ball early and see if he can break a tackle, make someone miss. Didn't break tackles in this game, but you could see the scary potential that he displays when he has the ball in his hands. If he makes someone miss, his speed, his quickness, his explosiveness, he can take it the distance from anywhere on the field. So you want him to have those opportunities. And as they get into it, and as his role expands from being a guy that is just F only in the slot to being someone who can play out wide at Z or in the slot at F or even backside at X, the more he can do, the bigger the playbook can be in terms of changing formations, personnel groupings, and those things. Right now, he's only slated to be in those things where they have three wides. We want to create an opportunity for him to be on the field, whether it's two wides, whether it's two tight ends and two wides and one back, or any other exotic formation. You want Travis Hunter to be comfortable being in the role where he can get on the field and take advantage of the one-on-ones. The reason why I'm talking about 12 personnel and heavy packages is because if this team, the Jaguars, are able to successfully run it, and if they can run it out of those big sets, it creates big play potential off play action. Think about the years and years and time again that we've seen Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks and any other receiver that has ever played for the Rams streak down the field on a deep diagonal, a deep over, a post, where they lay it over the top of the defense because everyone has come running to the line of scrimmage to stop the running back then, which was Todd Gurley. Now in Jacksonville, Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby may not be like that, but they're good enough to lure the defense into the box to create one-on-one opportunities on the outside for Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. That's why it's important over the next few weeks. Travis masters the playbook and learns and feels comfortable playing outside as well as in the slot. He can get away with being an F-only and they can have success. But if he wants to maximize his opportunities to have success and big play chances, he has to nail down the second position, and that would be at flank. If he can play flanker and in the slot, now you can keep him on the field at all times. And now it makes it scary for the defense to have to defend him. As we talk about his defense, I've talked about him. Look, I think he has some of the best ball skills I've ever seen when it comes to studying a defensive back. His instincts, his awareness, terrific. He does all of that, flying colors, no issue. But in this game, he played 8 snaps. Coverage was good. A couple times he was down the field. He had the awareness, could read the route, jumped it, owned it, whatever. But now it comes down to tackling. And one of the issues that you worried about with him is, will he tackle? Will he be a consistent tackler on the perimeter, given his size and maybe given the want to? Had an opportunity to make a tackle on a short yardage situation, the ball bounces out. It's right there. If he puts it on his inside pad, keeps the ball inside, even if he misses, someone else will clean it up. He didn't. Gets knocked down, stiff arm. They go around the corner and they pick up a big first down. Travis just has to get more comfortable tackling in space, more reps in game, more reps in practice, more hitting the heavy bag to get used to thumping. Once he gets used to being a force setter, an edge setter in certain defenses, the better it would be. But overall, really solid performance from Travis Hunter, stepping onto the field as a two-way standout and making his presence known. So a lot of positive stuff about Travis Hunter. But speaking of Travis Hunter, let's make sure we get some of these odds. FanDuel has Travis Hunter, all kinds of odds on there. So make sure you go to the site, check it out. But, one of the things that they have on there that intrigues me is Travis Hunter over under on 750.5 receiving yards. That is at a minus 114. I'm going to tell you right now, I expect him to go over 750. Like, I just see him as a starting wide receiver. I see him getting so many opportunities on catch and run plays, playing opposite Brian Thomas Jr., who's going to command a lot of attention. With the double teams headed over to number 7, I think number 12 is going to get a ton of balls hit his way. I'm going to go on the over 750 receiving yards on FanDuel. Make sure you check out my man Travis Hunter on that with those odds. Final thing about the Jaguars. I talked about Cam Little, 70-yard field goal. The kick heard around the world. I mean, absolute boot when it comes to it. I feel like I was set up. Brian Sexton, my play-by-play partner on the preseason game telecast, was asking me, what do you think his range is? And naturally, I'm looking at him like I look at every other kicker. I'm saying, well, we got to get the ball to the 35-yard line because 7 yards from it, that makes it a 52-yard kick. That's doable. We've seen him do that time and time again. Maybe at max, maybe it's to the 40. It's a 57-yard kick. That is a stretch. At no point did I think that you don't even have to reach the 50-yard line and you still will have an opportunity to kick and nail it. But he does. And then after the fact, I get word that in practice, he had nailed him as far as 72 yards. I feel like I was set up because if I'd known that information, I could give you a better call. And if that was going to be a legendary call, I feel like I could have baked in something that made it sound more legendary. But anyway, Cam Little dropping a bomb, 70-yard field goal changes the equation, changes the way that they'll call plays going forward. Now that you know that you pretty much have a nails kicker from the 35 to 40-yard line, it changes the way that you attack, either more conservative or more aggressive, regardless, you know that you can get points whenever you're near the 40-yard line. That is a nice card to have in your pocket when you talk about playing in a league that really specializes in one-score games. Speaking of one-score games, the quarterback is often the biggest deciding weapon in these games based on what he does with the ball. And I want to talk about the rookie quarterbacks because I don't know if I've ever seen a better weekend for rookie quarterbacks in terms of the debut they made and how pretty much every young quarterback that went on the field, particularly the rookies, showed up and showed out when they got their moment. And when we talk about showing up and showing out, we got to start with Shedeur Sanders and what we saw on Friday night against the Carolina Panthers. Shedeur Sanders, fifth round pick, 144 overall, got a chance to start in place of Joe Flacco with injuries to Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel leading him out. Well, Shedeur lit it up. Now, I'm not saying it was a flawless game, but what I will say is when your quarterback has 2 touchdowns and shows that the bright lights of the big stage don't bother him, you like that. It matches the player that I saw at Colorado who had a high IQ, who loved throwing on time and on target when he was protected and made enough tight window throws that you kind of could see him throwing guys open at the next level. Now, regardless of whatever reason, circumstance he fell to the 5th round, now that he's on the field, you can evaluate him from the player. And the player that showed up on Friday night was solid all around. The way he held and controlled the game, the way he commanded the game from the huddle, the way he communicated with his teammates, the work ethic and stuff that he's displayed that obviously translated into being able to understand the offense. He was able to play on schedule, on script, off script, because he was very, very diligent in his preparation process. So if you're the Browns coaches, you like that. You like the fact that he led 3 touchdown drives because at the end of the day, the quarterback's job is to lead the team to points, to lead the offense, direct the offense, and score points every time they get it. Now, it's a lofty standard, but that is the expectation when you have great guys. Shedeur displayed the accuracy and touch, bounced back from some disappointing throws, bounced back from some hits and those things behind the line where he was drifting and some of the bad habits showed up. But I'm going to tell you, for a debut performance for someone that's a 5th round pick, really, really solid. And I've said this and I mean it. There's some Russell Wilson vibes to the way that he's going about his process. Not saying he's going to overtake anyone as a starter, but he certainly has helped himself. Now, what's the next step for him? More reps, more confidence. More reps with the number 1s and number 2s, get a better feel for the guys that you would be playing with on Sundays. That is going to be imperative. Not saying that he's the backup, but if he is the backup, he's one play away from being a significant contributor. He needs to work outside of the normal practice times to be able to get those reps with the 1s and 2s so he can have the confidence to shine in big games. We'll get a chance to see some of it joint practices this week with the Eagles and then the game. I'm sure he'll participate in both of them. If he takes a step forward, you feel good about his chances to continue to develop to maybe end up being the backup quarterback in Cleveland behind Joe Flacco. I think it's too far, too big of a long shot for him to overtake it. But I do like the fact that he could sit behind Joe Flacco and eventually be the first guy off the bench. Speaking of first guy off the bench, Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick, was as advertised. Big arm gunslinger, wild throws, littered the timeline when I got a chance to watch it. Great chemistry with the number 1 receiver in Calvin Ridley. They got down. They made some plays happen. I loved the way that he commanded the offense, the way that he handled the situations, even the negative plays, he bounced right back and was on it. Man, I have few concerns about Cam Ward now that he's in the environment. I worry about the people around him. But in terms of the temperament, the talent, Cam Ward has it. We want to see going forward more command, better patience and discipline, learn how to win, exhibiting patience and discipline. If you can become the chess master where you never emotionally get out of sorts because of what people are doing, then you have a chance to be great. Cam Ward has shown that. Just want to make sure that he continues to do it each and every week. Get better at that. Command, patience, discipline, takes care of those things. Tennessee has a stud on their hands. Cam Ward certainly isn't a finished product, and we can talk about all the things that they have to work on, but FanDuel wants to know if Cam Ward is going to have more than 18.5 touchdown passes this year. I don't expect the Tennessee Titans to be very good, but I do expect them to score points. To me, they're a video game squad. They're going to give up a bunch of points, but they're going to score a bunch of points because Cam Ward is going to throw it all over the yard. And when I think about the connection that he has with Calvin Ridley, I look for him to go over that. And so 18.5 touchdowns, the over on that is just a plus 100. Man, put your money where your mouth is. If you're big on Cam Ward, you got to go with that. I'm going on the over. I expect him. If Caleb Williams can have 20, I look for him to be well over the 20 touchdown mark. Look for Cam Ward to surprise on FanDuel. Cam Ward's the one that you want to bet on. Speaking about stud on their hands, how about the New York Giants? New York Giants might have found a quarterback in Jaxson Dart. And I know I'm hearing Brian Daboll talk about Russell Wilson as a start and all this. I can get all that. I've seen this. I've heard this before. Let him go and run with that. Alleviate the pressure. Keep Jaxson Dart out of the spotlight. But I'm going to say this. It's going to be hard to keep him out of the spotlight when he continues to impress. This is a dual threat playmaker at the position. And I'm not going to lie. And I apologize ahead of time. Jackson had a chance to meet you at NFL Network and loved how you carried yourself in those moments. But I'm going to say this, and I hope it doesn't put too much pressure on you. But, man, there's some Josh Allen Jr. to Jaxson Dart's game. And when I say that, I know exactly what I'm saying. I know the kind of pressure I'm putting on him by comparing him to the MVP. But the reason why I do that is because the arm talent, the athleticism allows Brian Daboll to get back into his bag and utilize the same things that he utilized for Josh Allen, but really the things that he utilized for Daniel Jones to help the Giants get into the playoffs. I'm not saying that Jaxson Dart is going to overtake Russell Wilson to be the starter by the end of the preseason. But what I am saying is that Brian Daboll got a taste of what it's like to have that kind of athlete behind the offense, to see them throwing the ball down the field, to see the quarterback running on scrambles and design quarterback runs. Oh, yeah, Josh Allen Jr. came to mind when I'm looking at Jaxson Dart, and I can see the vision that Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen have for this offense. I can see it being a ball control outfit with some explosive plays designed to Malik Neighbors and others. But this is an offense that's going to complement a defense that also had the number 3 overall pick, Abdul Carter, show up and show out. When I look at this defense, which could be dominant, playing with potentially a rookie quarterback that can affect the game as a runner and thrower and complement a rough and rugged offense behind what should be a better offensive line, I see what Daboll wants because I've seen this blueprint work for Daniel Jones as the Giants went to the playoffs during Brian Daboll's first season. Not saying they're going there, but there's a path to victory for the Giants, and that path could include Jaxson Dart being the starting quarterback at some time. So what I want to see from him going forward, more confidence, more composure. He continues to play with the confidence that he displays, plays with the poise, despite some missteps that may happen. It's just going to be another feather in his cap, and it's going to create some more momentum to get him on the field sometime during this season. Final quarterback that I saw, and that was on Sunday. Tyler Shutt took on the LA Chargers. Older quarterback, second-round pick, but he is expected to be the starting quarterback, even though Spencer Rattler started in this game. And I'm going to tell you, it didn't start great for Tyler Shutt. Saw the pick 6. The cornerback just squatted, made a great play. But what I loved about that is after the pick 6, the resilience displayed. Eventually, Tyler Shutt got into his bag, dropped a bomb, was able to lead a touchdown drive and do some things that were really impressive. And so I liked the way that he showed his composure in good and bad moments. Wasn't the best performance, but the toughness was on display. The arm talent was on display. There are some things to clean up. But to me, when you look and assess their situation, if Spencer Rattler doesn't seize the job, and he certainly didn't seize the job with his performance against the Chargers, why not start Tyler Shutt? Because if I'm going to go with the young player that we're going in. I'm going to go all in on him. I'm going to let him work through those mistakes and do it. And so if this is close, the ball is going to Tyler Shutt. Tyler Shutt has to be better in terms of just understanding what he needs to do to win the job, production, performance, taking care of the ball, all that. He does that. He's eventually going to be QB1 in New Orleans. Last thing, a couple guys that stood out to me, a couple rookies that made plays. Abdul Carter, I mentioned, I understand why you always take the best player available when you're drafting. 3rd overall pick, Abdul Carter was a sack machine at Penn State. And sometimes you forget that he was playing almost with one hand tied behind his back because of the injury. Well, now that he is fully healthy and ready, he has some special qualities to him. And as I think about this front line, one that is anchored by Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, you throw Abdul Carter in the mix at whatever position, you now have the ability to wear people out the way that the Giants have traditionally worn people out when they built championship caliber defense. They're not championship caliber, but they could be with Abdul Carter making contributions. Last guy, TreVeyon Henderson, man, way to show up and show out immediately for the Patriots. Talk about the Patriots needing more players around the quarterback Drake May to be able to get this project, this rebuilding project off the ground. How about TreVeyon Henderson making plays in the kicking game? 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Spectacular when it comes to the running. And if you show up on special teams and make big plays, that is going to get you an opportunity to make plays as a rotational player. Look for him to be a big part of the mix. It was really impressive watching him. But, man, I know those coaches are really impressed with what he's doing. And how about Mike Vrabel? A little grittiness, a little toughness, a little more from the Patriots. It's a preseason game, so you can't go crazy. But they certainly look a lot different than they looked in the past. Got to keep our eye on the Patriots. I kind of like where they're trending and how they're going. So that was the Bucky Brooks Show for the day. We're going to come back maybe Wednesday, have another podcast where we lay out some things. Got some nice intel on the Pittsburgh Steelers and some more news and notes that we can discuss. But for now, that is going to be the show. I'm Bucky Brooks. Make sure you come back and check us out.